Welcome back, Finxters. I'm Ben Reitz, and today I'm going to go over my Python project on data conversion with automated email functionality using Python 3. This is one of my first complete original Python scripts, and I used it to solve a real-world problem. In my previous job, I was a coach of a fitness class, and there was a attendance-taking responsibility and the need also to send several update emails to all the students enrolled throughout the course so that they could keep tabs of their attendance. So I decided that I would write this Python script to let the computer do all the hard work of crunching the numbers and writing customized emails, and then I'd be able to reuse it as many times as needed throughout the term. So let me show you, I'll just model how the script works to start. So over here in my PyCharm, let me just show you the script and run it so you can see what the inputs and outputs are here. So if you look at the attendance.csv file, this is just example data, but later on I would switch it out for the actual data from my students' attendance. So you can see that there's name, email, then the dates, P for pass, A for absent. All right, so over on my attendance.py, let's go ahead and just run the script, and you can see what comes out the other end. Great, we finished with an exit code 0, so we're all good to go. You can see in the output, all right, so first let's take a look at our outputs here. Here's the first email message generated to send to a student. Hello, Varsity Walker. Dear perfect student, I'm the attendance bot. Here's your attendance rate, 100%. You've attended 8. You've been absent for 0. You still need to attend at least 4 practices of the remaining 16 of the school year, blah, blah, blah. So as long as you get 50% or higher, you pass this course. And this is a way to help the student know how many more sessions to plan to attend in order to pass. This is a pretty simple situation. Most courses might have more factors, but I wanted to keep it simple for this project. So you can see that here's another student, Ben Bad Student 26 at university.edu. You're currently passing, okay? You've got 50%. You have to attend. You've attended 4, absent for 4. You still need to make it to 8 of the remaining 16 practices. Okay. Here's another student, Ben Bad Student, and this student is currently failing spring fitness. They have a attendance rate of 25%, and you can read the text there. So those are basic categories, and then there's also senior slacker 22. You're currently not passing, low attendance rate, and you need to attend 7 more sessions to make it to the 50% cut. Now you see a little bit of output info here. Starting to send to seniors, send email to seniors. That's just to help me when I'm debugging to know whether or not the emails were sent. And there's some output of the data list that I draw that final email from. You can see here. All right, let's go to the code. Okay. So project specifications. First, I determine my inputs, the CSV file of attendance data, and the outputs are the email messages, and then also some information about whether or not the emails were sent, just for debugging. One of the main methods that I used was to take the large problem of the attendance bot and break it down into smaller problems. So, for example, the first code snippet we'll look at is how I sorted students into 2 lists based on whether or not they were seniors or non-seniors. Let's take a look in the code here. So basically we've got a new email report string being initialized here. This is where the sorting begins. Word search equals string of 22. And one thing about this project is that all seniors have a 22 in their email address for their graduating year. This was the previous academic year. So if we look at our sample data, let's see, attendance.csv, you can see in the email address for senior slacker, they have a 22 right there. So they'll be in the senior group. The rest will be in non-seniors. All right, so we initialize two lists, seniors, everyone else, and this is the first chunk of the problem, is to sort out these two categories of students. So I open that CSV file, load up my reader, and then I iterate over the rows and find the line count, number of rows. Below that, we start our sorting here. So with this while loop, we're looking through each line, and if the 22 from our word search variable appears in row, then we'll append it to the seniors list. And that'll go through there until we're done looking through. Otherwise, we append it to the everyone else list. All right, so then we print out both lists just to check and see if our sorting went right, and it did. Below here, we have remaining dates. So when I went through to run this code each time, there were a few things that I had to manually adjust. Like, for example, if, let's say it's now the 26th and I'm updating my CSV, then before I run my next report, I have to actually go in here and manually remove the 24th on both lists. The top list here is remaining dates for seniors, and the bottom list is remaining dates for everyone else. Now, this may look a little bit redundant, but it was the simplest way for me to organize these distinct two groups, because the seniors at my school ended a little bit earlier in the year, and everyone else had a few extra weeks. There may be a more elegant solution here, but this is the one that I chose to run with. All right, so here's our loop for everyone else. It's the same as the one we went over. Down below, you can see the custom email message being composed. And before I get to that point, I actually delete the list past the student's name and email. And this is because I was getting some bugs introduced by introducing unnecessary variables, and instead I just see how it's part of the same giant loop here, the for student and everyone else. That way I can use these names, @num, skipnum, @rate, pass fail, etc., in my email body without any chance of mixing up or confusing two variables that really were storing the same thing. This was one of my takeaways from this project, is that don't ever, when coding on Python, try to avoid whenever possible duplication of variables when you don't need to go to the work to do that extra bit. So down here we see our email body, entry equals. I stripped the student text just to get rid of unnecessary white space when writing to each student, because some students on the CSV had extra spaces for some reason. So this is a way to quickly clean up that text. And you can see that I splice in the variables, but I do change the data type to string. Another big takeaway is that Python cannot concatenate two different kinds of data types, like strings and floats, or strings and integers. So I actually convert the number to a string, and then it works to concatenate into one long text message or text entry in the list. So here we go. This is the custom message for This is non-seniors, this one. And then down below, there's the same loop. And this time it goes over for seniors, for student and seniors, does the same number crunching of the variables, deletes that list beyond what's actually needed, and then we calculate the need num, and then compose the message, converting data types to strings again to make it concatenate correctly. The last chunk of the code is just going over sending the email. So I did research around to find the cleanest, easiest way to send emails. And you can see that I use the smtplib module here and SSL. And then I introduce the password using a credentials.txt file. So in that file, what you would see here, I have a generic version to hide my own information. You would put your email address first, and in line 2, either your password if you have an email that allows less secure applications to log in. If you're using Google, though, this was a change actually within the time frame of when I used the code on the job, and then now when I'm writing it up as a project. They changed their policy for less secure apps, so the code actually wasn't able to log in and send emails anymore. But I found a workaround after Googling around on the internet, and basically you can go into your Google account settings. Those are the global settings, and you can generate an app password or app key, and then you would use that in place of the password. And it's another way to get into the account, and Google still allows Python scripts to log in and send emails by using that app key. All right, back to our code here. This is the email functionality portion. And this is down below, choose a port, read credentials, and then here we actually package up the message. So we've got just some output for me to see for debugging. Now we'll prep to send the following message. Sending to, it tells me who, subject, and then text that's in our small list, which just stores student name, email, and then the text body. Down below, we set the subject and little message to output for debugging, starting to send. This block of text here is what actually sends the email. So during testing, one thing I learned was that you can hashtag it out as a comment, run your code, and it'll operate as if it's doing everything, including sending the email, but it won't actually send it. So I guess you could hashtag out this one too, so you don't get that confirmation message that would be incorrect. Now, because I have two groups, this is in both groups here, so you would also have to comment out these lines with a hashtag in order to run it for testing. And then when you're ready, you can do what I think of as kind of like arming your message or arming your email functionality by uncommenting like that on both sides. And then when you run the Python script, it'll actually log in and send those emails. So just to summarize what I learned from this Python attendance emailer bot is, number one, formatting is critical. Make sure that you know your data type and use the corresponding formatting for that, whether it be parentheses, brackets, or curly brackets. It's important that you know which one is a list, which one's a dictionary, and a string for using quotations. If you don't get those data types correct, you need to change the data type by using parentheses and string, integer, or float, whatever it might be, to change that data type. The second thing I learned is always to reuse my variables and eliminate unnecessary data. So don't store things twice in two different ways if you don't have to. It makes it easier and simpler. It also reduces the potential for bugs. The third thing I learned is yeah, just be careful with the formatting of your test data. I did test it extensively with my test data, and then I switched to my actual data, and there were a few small differences in formatting that caused problems. So keeping a close eye on that formatting will help to avoid problems down the road. Thanks for listening to my write-up here and explanation. This is my contact info. Feel free to send me a message if you have any comments or suggestions. All the images, by the way, were generated by the Midjourney AI Discord bot. Really cool project that you can send in a text prompt and then it responds with images. You can tweak them further, upscale them, add extra descriptors, etc. It's a lot of fun. All right. Well, thank you. And thanks to Chris from Finxter for helping me get this video out there. And best of luck with your Python coding.